Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting for November 1st, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Tonight, let's start thinking about our first responders again. We're going to be going into an unpredictable holiday season, and let's try to keep them all safe. Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to start off with public comment. I have a few things on my agenda this evening. I have Mr. McDonald here about Braver Angels. Sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
I have here, just put this up, I guess for more for the TV camera, I can show everybody back there. This is what Braver Angels is all about, sort of. You can see that on your thing at home.
There's several cameras around the room.
Oh, okay. So, I'm on more than one. All right. Here to speak about Braver Angels, an organization trying to depolarize our country. Very important task, very necessary. If you follow politics at all, you may know that, and I'll aim it towards this camera, but blue is for liberals, red is for conservatives. And instead of beating each other up, let's work together. That's what Braver Angels is trying to do. That's why I wear this all the time. I go to people and they're a little surprised at first, but it's very effective. You need to work together. That's what Braver Angels does. Their mission is to bring Americans together to bridge the partisan divide. Again, work together. That's tearing our country apart. It's a lot easier to just sit on the sidelines and not do anything, but if you sit on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to do it, that somebody else is nobody, and nothing gets done. We really need to get together and get this done. Work together. We can do it. We really can. I'll briefly explain because I don't have a lot of time here. The website is fantastic. It has a lot of information on it, and a lot more than I can go into now. I just don't have that time to do that. So anyways, one of the things that I wanted to mention too is when you think about this, working together, I know it's easier to sit on the sidelines, but we can't do that anymore. You need to remember what President Kennedy said many years ago. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And one of the things that you can do for your country is to join with Braver Angels to help depolarize our country. Very important that we need to do this. Okay, some of the things they do, again, their website is very awesome. It's right on there. Great job they do on that. Very, very informative, and it's easy to follow. It's really good. One of the things they do is some workshops where people get together, red-blue workshops they call it. It's a small, evenly divided group of reds and blues, and you get together for a series of exercises that help clarify disagreements, reduce stressful thinking, and discover common values. And be surprised that people, when you have a chance to talk to somebody and actually listen to them, that you have a lot more in common than you think you do. Too many people today think that all the guys on the other side, they're all terrible, they're all bad, blah, blah, blah. Now you start talking to them, wow, okay, this guy's pretty cool. That's what we really need to do. So they have the workshops there, red and blue, and then a little more extensive, they go common ground. The red-blue workshops are just get to know each other and talk about various things. The common ground workshops are more of one subject that you really get deeper into and try to come up with solutions that you can pass on to other people, your legislators and things like that. And that's another thing Braver Angels is working on, trying to get members of Congress, their staffs, and on the state level, get those people to all involved with Braver Angels so they can work together again. We had Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Chuck Schumer of New York. They used to be able to work together. They can't do it anymore. They had, a few years ago, the Gang of Eight, 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, got together for immigration reform, and they were able to do that. They can't do that nowadays. So that's what Braver Angels is trying to do to help them to be able to work together again. But we need to do it as well, too. You can't just sit there on the sidelines and say, well, yeah, I'll let somebody else do it. Again, that somebody else is nobody, and that gets us nowhere. So we really have to do that. Let's see. The other things they have in workshops, they have skills training workshops where you learn how to talk across political divide in an instructive and empathetic way. You learn how to approach somebody. If you hear somebody saying, oh, blah, 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 even if they're on your side, you can calmly, and you have the confidence to do this too. That's what you learn at Brave Angels, the confidence to be able to speak to somebody and say, hey, they're not all that bad. You really can do it. And if we sit on the sidelines, we're not going to get anywhere. And then family and politics. Thanksgiving's coming up. And isn't that fun when you're sitting around the table and politics? You don't want to do that? You don't want to discuss that? Braver Angels can make it again, so you might not feel comfortable bringing it up, but if somebody else does, you can feel comfortable talking about it. Wouldn't that be great to not worry about Thanksgiving and, sitting there at the table and having everybody, rah, 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 rah. You don't have to worry about that. With Braver Angels, we can do that. That's very important. Let's see, what else do we have here? The one-on-one conversations, which I have participated in. My wife has done that as well. You have a red and a blue, and you just talk to each other. They have some very good guidelines about that, and you follow the guidelines, and it's about a 1-hour conversation. They encourage you to have 2, and you just talk to the other person, and you learn things from their side, and you learn how to listen to people. And they encourage you to extend those to more if you want, but that's up to you. Let's see. Commission there. And they also have debates. It's more of a discussion, not a debate, where people, and they don't have reds and blues, they have pros and cons. They pick a subject, whatever subject is, current events kind of a thing. And they, anybody who signs up for these can get involved. You can either listen and learn, or you can ask questions, or you can even speak if you want, if you feel comfortable doing that. But it's a great way to learn, and it's not like a debate where you're beating each other up and somebody wins or not. That's why I call it more of a discussion than a debate, where you get to learn things. And they, again, we need to volunteer for this. We need to help do this because they can't do it themselves. And one of the things that they're looking for is online debate chairpersons and event support team members for these debates. They need help in that regard. Again, you find that on the Braver Angels website. Okay, and another thing, college debates. They have some very impressive college debates. A lot of things on the website there. I don't really have time to get into that, but one thing that impressed me, at the bottom of the section about college debates, they have participant testimonials. And a lot of the kids and the professors that went through this, they were very impressed, very happy with it, and very glad that they did that. Another thing they offered is corporate offerings, where you depolarize your company. Places you go to work and you don't dare talk about politics or anything. They have offerings that will take care of that so people can feel comfortable talking about politics. May not want to bring it up, but if somebody else did, they'd feel comfortable talking about it. And we can get together and be able to work things out. It's very, very impressive.
So 30 seconds, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was afraid of that, running out of time. Anyways, thank you all very much for the time to speak with you about it. And remember, let's work together, bridge that divide, work together, and get things done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next on my agenda for public comment is school pathway funding update with Sandy and Bob. Hi.
Hey, John. Hi.
Good evening, Bob Rimmel, 2 Fay Lane from Londonderry Trailways.
Sandra Legue, 2 Fiddlers Ridge Road, Londonderry. Good to see you all.
So how can we help?
We just wanted to report to you on the update of the school pathways project that we're trying to pursue. we came here in February and we said that that was really next on the Trailways priority list to be able to complete the school pathway from the kindergarten to the Wilshire, Berkshire neighborhood, and we were going to pursue grants and some other sources of funding to see where we're at. I think Sandra can explain a little bit better than myself our pursuit of what we have done and where we are today.
Yeah, so we said we would come back in October, November, and let you guys know where we were at and what the gap was that remained. And, well, we are not coming in here with a pile of cash. Sorry to say. That's what we wanted to come in and tell you. So we were given a name by Kevin, thank you so much, to work with a small company called Littleberry Press that the town has worked with. Grant, they have a division called Grant Select. And it's been a little slow getting kicked off, and we really haven't made any headway yet in that area. And we actually don't have any awards yet to come back and tell you. What was the cost that we estimated the project?
Well, the cost estimate was about $450,000. Back in February, it's probably $400,000. So, as we know, inflation has changed a few things, but we've invested a lot in engineering, over $15,000 in engineering to try to make it more appealing and more affordable. And we've put a lot of skin in the game, including the grant writer we've paid from Londonderry Trailways.
Yeah, and it basically takes a lot. There's a lot of runway time to bring somebody else up to speed on your project than when you just write grants yourself. So we think that once that kicks off, we may have some luck. We just weren't able to turn anything around from February to now. I don't know. It's like, where did the year go? I don't know. So we don't really have anything to report. But what we did want to ask or mention is that a lot of what we do at Trailways is, well, we knock on doors and ask for sponsorship, and we have our own business connections and people we know and that sort. And people we don't, he'll talk to anybody, literally.
You bet.
You just put Bob on. But we wanted to actually mention, if you have relationships or people or businesses that you guys work with, that you can help us make a contact. We all have people that we know in the community and in the state. There's a lot of great connection to the pathway about recreation, about schools, about neighborhoods, connectivity, walkability. So there's a lot of angles that we could get different companies interested in or different individuals interested in. And so and also you have access to a lot of things that are going on that we won't know about, financially. And so we're not going to ask to put something on a warrant article. We discussed that and we made that decision, right? How's that? We said we're not going to do that this year, but we did want to come back and report. It's too big of a gap to do that, to be honest with you. And we try to be smart about when we do that, and we try to do that as infrequently as possible. But we wanted to throw out there if you guys have any ideas, connections.
Or questions
Yes.
regarding the project. I mean, we even tried to pursue funding from Congressman Pappas, and it just didn't work out. But we're sort of at a dead end here, and we're just asking you for advice, input, questions, and that includes the audience as well.
Yeah.
This is for public comment. We're not going to just put our hand out for every project, so.
No.
The ball's in your
This
court.
particular year is we're going into budgets on Saturday, and I mean, I'm sure as you're well aware, we took a significant revenue reduction from the power plant, so we're going in with with tight margins as it is. So, questions, comments? Yes.
A design question. I know it's early, but as you come out of the kindergarten and go west, you come to the first real, probably expensive part that you get to is that bridge.
That's where it all
That's
begins.
it. That's where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very inexpensive
does the early design show road cross and cross the bridge on the south side or stay on the north side of the bridge?
The design has always been to stay on the north side of the bridge. The most cost-effective solution that we've come up with to get past the water is just build like a boardwalk-type structure. It wouldn't even be 8 feet wide, which is the width of the path right now. It's just to get past it. But the whole complication with the wetlands is difficult. It's expensive. We're literally about to expend a fair amount of money just doing boring samples, which is $5,000 to $8,000, and we decided to put that on hold just because we're at a bit of a dead end. But we just don't have a choice to go to the south end at this point. And we've worked very closely with Public Works on this, by the way.
Yeah, Town Public Works. And we would have the same expenditure on the other side as well, because it's still so,
You got to cross the road at some point.
right in front of Wilshire.
Yep.
It's a little safer, there's a little better line of sight there than at the water crossing. Yeah, good question, though. Anything else?
Any other
else?
questions?
Any rich relatives, any,
Any recent lottery winners
and then,
here?
yeah, any recent lottery winners?
No.
All right, so I guess I'm left to ask the obvious question. Is this really the best next project? I mean, considering what's involved, and I guess the question would be is that the current rail trail that's been done by you folks has been an overwhelming success and abundantly used. Would we, considering sometimes when you have to ask the question, if you're going to invest, do we expect the same level of success with this investment?
I think so, I really do. And the rail trail, we're at a point where the connection to Manchester is funded, and it's just working through its paces, and the connection to Derry is wrapped up in 4A. And so, we just went to the latest meeting, several of us on that, and, it's going to get there. There's just nothing for us to do right now on that connection to Derry, unfortunately.
Somebody should ask the question.
Right. So therefore, because the rail, either end of the rail trail is either funded or held up, this, we believe, is the next best project
That's
for
it.
us to work on. And I think it will be very successful.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
heavily
believe
used.
so.
Because you wrap in another however many hundred homes.
And it's also in front of the school. Yeah.
Yes, Joe?
If we found an anonymous donor or they wanted to get money to you, how do they do that? Should they contact the town manager, and then what is the best way that you would like to communicate to folks that are maybe watching this that want to give to?
Sure,
funds?
yeah. You can start by calling Kevin, and he knows how to get in touch with us. We also, on our website as well, londonderrytrails.org, there's a way to communicate with us that way. There's a contact us. Page. Thank you for asking, Joe.
Yes.
I'd say the other thing I would add is that, we have so many businesses in town, some fairly large and some that have already donated to Rail Trail, but a lot who haven't.
Right.
And perhaps it would be worth having conversations with just hitting up as many of these as possible. And I mean, even if you're able to get 5,000 here or 5,000 there, that adds up
Yep.
once you hit a critical mass. So I would maybe look at that route as well.
Yes.
I agree.
Yep.
Would, I guess, two questions, one for the town manager and one for you guys. Would we consider advertising sponsorship on that expensive part of going across the bridge? Partially donated by,
Yep.
Jim's Pizza Hut, whatever.
As you've seen, we've done that on the rail trail for major sponsors, so yeah, I think
Yeah.
the bridge area would be
We're
a
always
nice-
open
yeah,
to
doing
new-
that
to
tastefully.
ideas
Yep.
like that. Absolutely.
Yep, for businesses, yep,
Yep.
absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, there are a few newer companies in town who are looking to get involved in the community. One of them has 5,000 new members. It's over by Shaw's, and it's purple.
I think I've seen you there.
But yeah, she's that's actually corporate owned. That's not a franchise.
Oh,
That one's corporate owned?
okay.
Oh,
all right.
So I know they're very community oriented, and I think the manager's there, her name is Stacy. I know they're looking for more involvement in the community.
Interesting. I
good tip.
I know it sounds crazy, but I know the owners of Planet Fitness.
That
He'll be right on that one.
that can't hurt.
Okay. No, thank you for your time. We said we would come
thank
back
you.
in October, and so we wanted to come back. We usually come back
Yeah,
telling you
we're
about
just reporting.
grant awards, and so this is a little harder for us.
You bet.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next item I have is Net Zero Task Force presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Borden. I serve on the Derry Town Council, and I am the founder of the Net Zero Task Force. And this is Jeff Moulton. He is the chairman of the Net Zero Task Force. I got to say, I prefer being up there than over here. It's a little more intimidating over here. But I appreciate
Your
you
room
guys.
is much bigger and more intimidating.
Either way. But yeah, I wanted to reach out and kind of let you know where we're at and give you a little insight. I really appreciate what the gentleman was saying earlier about coming together, because that's exactly what our bipartisan committee has done. But before I get into what our goal is, I want to take it back to my first year. I'm in my third term, but my first year on the council, that was the year the fire station closed. And we were leaning on you for a time to help out. And that was a political disaster in Derry, as you may remember. People in Derry want lower taxes, but they also want to maintain their services. So I scrambled and tried to come up with a way to maintain services while lowering taxes. And the idea that I borrowed from towns and cities across New England was to create a net zero task force and set a goal to be net zero by the year 2025. So what we did, in the bipartisan part of it, is you don't necessarily you don't have to believe in global warming to accomplish net zero. You can simply, it's okay to just want to reduce your taxes. And that's been our focus in Derry. But what we've done is, the key aspect is taking members from each of the most important boards, your planning board, your council, your school board, who else? Your high school, public works, like bring in the experts from all the different boards. So when decisions are made, there's no surprises. And that's really streamlined everything. What else do I want to say? So again, our goal is in Derry to become a net zero community by the year 2025. By this time next year, the municipality will have achieved that. Then we'll be working with K through 8, and then eventually helping Pinkerton Academy, which ultimately will save millions of dollars for our taxpayers. One of my other goals is to help communities throughout the state to be able to replicate what we're doing. Again, I think a lot of times when people think about net zero and sustainable energy, they try and put these communities in a box. Well, it's a liberal community doing that. It really doesn't have to be. It's fiscally conservative. It's fiscally smart to avoid wasting taxpayers' money when we could be utilizing the sun's energy to do that. So the last thing I'll say is my role was bringing smart people together who know the details, and I was able to convince Jeff, who's an engineer and an expert in solar energy, to take on the committee and be our chairman. So did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I would say in addition to the board other board members, there's 5 public members, and those are really some very valuable parts of the board, or the group. Engineers and business people experienced with in the energy sectors. So they brought a lot of experience to the table. And the first thing we really did was we went around and collected data. There's 30 town buildings, 7 schools. Collected all the energy data for the last 10 years, and then benchmarked it against not only other buildings in town, but against buildings across the country using an EPA tool. And that kind of pointed out where all the problems were, what buildings are underperforming. And it was really surprising, some of the data, that some of the newer buildings were the worst performing buildings. And sometimes you get into these complicated HVAC control systems that maybe your staff just doesn't know how to, isn't properly trained or not familiar with, but they actually can decrease the performance of the system by just not knowing how to operate it. And some of it was just basic training. But we've implemented over the last 6-7 years about $900,000 per year in energy savings, LED lights, HVAC controls, new HVAC systems, converting from oil to natural gas. We put in a pilot solar field out at the transfer station that saves about $25,000 a year, but it was really used as a kind of a pilot to educate the public and the town council that this works. And we just finished the RFP for our landfill, which is a 2.2 megawatt system. And that, as Josh indicated, that'll completely put the whole town's buildings on renewable energy. And that's going to be saving us about $3.5 million. There's the option in the year 6 to buy the system. We could save an additional $2 million, but town council will have that option to make that decision 6 years from now. But we're getting ready to award the project, negotiating the contract right now. And we will be operational by 2023 with that new solar field.
And the thing I forgot to bring forward, why now? Recently, Governor Sununu signed legislation that allowed us to really expand the size of our solar field. So we've been waiting on that legislation. I've talked to him, it's been a roller coaster emotionally, like, are we going to get there? Are we going to get there? But that legislation is key. And I've been talking to Jeff on and off for years about my goal, being able to get out and across the state. And once this legislation passed, it seemed like the right thing to do. And with you guys being our neighbors, I wanted to, just let you know that we're available to help, offer any advice. Again, the biggest reason for our success is expanding the members to other boards and not just being solely a group of, energy advocates. Because if you're just energy advocates, your political reach, your decision-making ability may not be as great. But yeah. So, any questions on our project or what you guys, or any questions in general?
Questions? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming, Josh. When I heard about this project that you've been doing for a long time, I thought it was great, and to see it be so successful, I couldn't wait to invite you guys to come in here, because I think Londonderry can do that. At one time, we were trying to get, I'm not even sure where it stands, a solar company to come in and lease Auburn Road, which was a Superfund site, to put in solar energy, and but it wouldn't benefit the town, it would only benefit the company. And so, like, being able to have access to, like, maybe who you guys used, how did it work out? So they supplied that energy back to you? I mean, back to the town, I should say, so that the town's electric bill or schools, municipal's electric bills got dropped because of the solar panels, things like that. I just wanted to learn more knowing, things are kind of tight in a budget and ways we as a town can be, as opposed to just cutting, look at something different that's positive. So that's why I wanted to hear more and understand more.
Yeah, well, the RFP that we did for the large landfill solar project we asked for two options. One was a direct purchase right up front. And the bids came in around $4 to $5 million. And for us, that was about a 12-year payback on the savings. But then you get another 12, 13 years of savings, which equate to around $3 to $4 million. Maybe longer if the system lasts longer. But the option we're going with is what they call the PPA, or it's a lease buy. You have the option to buy after 6 years. Again, if we just lease it for the entire time, that savings is still in the 3 to 4 million range. But if we take the option to buy at the end of year 6, and we add another 2 million in savings. So the savings increase to 5 to 6 million. Now, why does that happen is because the vendor who builds this and owns and operates it is able to take the 30 or 26% tax credit, and then they can do accelerated depreciation over 5 to 6 years. So then they turn around at the end of 6 years and they sell it to us at 40 cents on the dollar. And that's where that extra $2 million savings could potentially come from. But in all cases, every year we're saving money. It starts out around 70 to 80,000 a year and it builds up. We're getting a fixed rate. So that hedges us against rising energy prices. I think we're all going to be shocked in the next couple of months when Eversource comes out with their new rates, but we're hoping to hedge against that for the next 25 years.
And I think a big thing that gets missed or assumed, especially for people at home, possibly for you all, is you hear that price tag, you hear about a timeline down the road, and you're thinking, well, how are we paying for that now? And is it going to cost us money now? And the beauty of this is the energy that's produced each year pays for your bill. So you're at worst breaking even. In Derry, with our pilot project, we not only broke even, but we came out ahead. So for us, it's a no-brainer.
With the lease, there's no upfront costs. They incur the 100% of the construction costs, and they sell us the electricity at a discount. So it's a very good deal. And the prices have gone down significantly over the last 2 or 3 years with panels and electronics. So we were looking at about $3 a watt 3 years ago, and now it's down to a little over $2 a watt. So.
Joe, good questions?
Nope, so.
Tom?
You probably know, about 30 to 35 years ago, we were looking pretty strongly at a trash to energy project up by Exit 5, where our old transfer station was at one time. And at the time, the technology was such that we would have generated so much ash that the community eventually rejected it because they didn't want that much ash in going into the groundwater and going around. Has the technology changed significantly over those last, let's say, 2 to 3 decades, so that you collect or manage the ash in a different manner than it was back then?
Derry's not in that business either. They export all their waste. So I don't know where the New England site is, but I don't know the answer to that. But,
Are you considering a trash to energy project as part of your mission?
produce energy from trash? No, we're not.
Right now, our focus, really what we try to do is kind of 2 avenues. Low-hanging fruit, which is your LED lights and things like that, but then also biggest bang for your buck. And solar and the public-private partnership seems to be the best option. Again, you save a ton of money right off the bat. As soon as you flip the switch and it's on, you're saving money, and there's cost avoidance. Once we achieve that goal, I mean, that's taken us a few years now. And again, if it wasn't for the governor signing that legislation, we're not here tonight. So once we achieve that goal, we'll be looking to, at whatever's next.
Right, so the new legislation allows us to do net metering up to 5 megawatts. And we're going to be buying electricity from this third-party vendor who's building the solar field at around 6 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour. And, the cost for kilowatt hour today is probably around 16, 17 cents or more. So it's a pretty good deal.
Significant. And we can also tie in the schools. This legislation allows us to bring the schools into the fold and help bring their costs down too.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions?
Yeah, real quick question. What's the life expectancy of these solar panels today?
The systems is warranted, the panels, the solar panels, which is the biggest part of the cost, are warranted for 25 years. Most of the vendors claim they can get 30 to 40 years out of them, but we do our business case around 25. Now, there is some electronics, the inverters that take the DC current and convert it into AC. It's, that has a life, or a warranty life of 12 years.
And that's the most
But
expensive
what we've
part.
done in our business cases, we've actually
Build it in.
built in some costs for replacement at the end of 12 years to
Yeah, anything we present to the council is the most conservative. Like, we want to hold it up year after year to our constituents and show that we're winning. I'm glad you brought that up, because the other assumption is after 25 years, they stop working. You might see 100% efficiency for decades, but they go on for decades after the 25 years. It might be at 90% or 80%, but they're still working. You're still saving money.
So, are you interested?
Yes, very, yeah,
I think it's something we should go down. I really do.
yeah, great.
Can you ask Dave and Mike to dig into this, and as well as the programs that we have going on, and see where we stand, and talk to these guys?
Absolutely.
Any websites?
anyway.
Websites. Go ahead.
We have a Facebook page, but no, we haven't. I mean, it's on the town website where we have our agendas and our meeting minutes and things like that. But I mean, it's public information. We'd be glad to share anything, our RFPs or business cases.
A quick thing. A step that our task force did was we went before the council and asked to be legit, if you will, to be voted in, and then the council voted a resolution to be, set a goal to be net zero by X year. I mean, you guys wouldn't be, because of the legislation that was recently signed, it wouldn't be a far stretch to set a goal, 2030, 2028, whatever. Again, prior to that, we were kind of like,
It was a broad goal.
Yeah.
2025, everything's 100% renewable. And when we looked at it and studied it, we said it's not feasible. We can do electricity 100% renewable, and that will be done by 2023. But converting heating systems and cars and trucks to all renewable by 2025 wasn't feasible. So we kind of backed off on part of that and pushed it out to 2030, 2035.
yeah, we're
One
just
step at a
focusing
time.
on what we can control.
Sure. Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask the town manager, talk to David, Public Works, and with Mike's help, Mike's our town solicitor, and let's dig into what it means and what the steps are, and, we'll come back and revisit it, and perhaps these guys will come back when we do.
Awesome.
Would that be okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Josh.
much, guys.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council tonight under public comment? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment. I'm going to skip around the agenda here a little bit. We have an interview for Deb DeRocher later on this evening. I'm going to skip that up to the front so she doesn't have to stay here through our meeting. So, so Debbie, if you want to come up. I appreciate that. You're welcome. So just so you're aware, later on in our meeting, we're going to accept the resignation of the chairperson of the Senior Resource Committee.
Okay,
So while we may talk tonight, we may take a little time before we make some decisions.
no problem.
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Debbie DeRochers, 25 Royal Lane. I've been here in Londonderry for 10 years with my husband. I'd like to give back to the community in some way, and I was trying to figure out what I could do that would be beneficial for myself also. And looking at the different opportunities for the different committees, I thought that this one would be really kind of what would focus in for me, because I like to help people. I want to help the elders here in the town. The committee kind of seems like it's trying to work things and do different things, and I think I could have a good voice in helping try to get some stuff done.
Fantastic. For those of you who don't know, Deb and her husband do a unbelievable job decorating for whatever holiday it may be. Right now, it's Halloween, and as I understand, they do that for their grandchildren, so, you know, you'll be in charge of decorating.
Yeah.
But if you have the chance during the holidays, take a ride by. They do a great job.
I appreciate that.
Questions? Tom?
Well, thank you for stepping forward and volunteering. It's, the volunteer workforce in the town is really the backbone of how we get things done. And so I thank you for stepping forward. I will be supporting you for this position.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Jim, any questions?
You know, just out of curiosity, what was one deciding factor for you to step up for this?
I've been
I know
thinking
when I
about
was
it.
on Council, there was one deciding factor.
Yeah, I think it's the, well, obviously I'm getting into the senior years myself. So it just seems like the seniors are kind of the forgotten people. That's the biggest thing for me, you know. Not a lot of people in that age group now have access to the internet, things like that. They don't know what's available to them out there. It just seems like we could do a better job of getting that information to the people, you know, that really need it. And I don't know how to do that, but maybe being on the committee, I can help in some way to do that.
Thank you.
Joe?
Thanks for stepping up. Definitely needed.
Appreciate it.
Again, thank you. And I have seen your house. I think I've taken pictures of it.
You had it in your paper, exactly. Yeah, you did. It made my husband's night, that one. You can find that one.
I guess my question to you is, what do you see as the biggest challenge that you would like to take on, or something? You know, there's got to be something that you know, an agenda, or something you'd like to sink your teeth into and say, you know what, I want to have more senior trips, or I want more exercise, or seniors in the school. I don't know what your passion is, but
Yeah.
what do you feel is something that you'd like to accomplish as a goal being on this committee?
I'm not too familiar with what the committee actually, like, to be honest with you, does, because the web information is a little, like, not as up to date as it could be. I know they're working on that and everything. I haven't been to the meetings yet. I was going to go to one, but I guess it got canceled for emergency last week. I'm not really sure what my passion would be on it yet, because I don't know what we can do, but I know my thing is that I think just a sense of community, that people to do more in the, like, instead of just the senior center where people have to travel there to get there, have a little bit more where they can have some fun and not have to go to that one place. They might have different, I really don't know off the top of my head what I could, you know, start up or anything, but just to try to get that so it's not just the senior center that people associate with the seniors in our town,
Right.
you know?
That's cool. I just think that people need to think about those things and go in
Yeah.
there, you know, with new ideas.
Yep.
Thank you again.
I appreciate it.
And Deb, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking me, because I got up early this morning, so I appreciate it.
Well, you got the transition now. Halloween's over.
I know, well, I got the word, I have to take it down Wednesday, because Christmas is going up, so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Debbie DeRocha for an alternate position on the Senior Resources Committee.
Kirby, is there an alternate position open? There is, yes. Okay.
Second that?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Deb, just come in, you see the town clerk, and she'll swear you in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, folks, new business. So we're gonna have a discussion about the settlement proposal with Penetruck on the rate case with Mike Malaguti.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mike Malaguti, Assistant Town Solicitor. So as this pertains to a matter that was discussed in a non-public privileged setting, I do need the council to vote to waive the privilege in order for me to proceed.
Roll call vote. We're gonna be voting to waive privilege.
Hi, Joe Green.
I, Deb Paul.
Hi, Jim Butler.
Aye, Tom Dolan.
Aye, John Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it was about a year ago that the town was notified that Pennachuck, the town's water, one of the town's water utilities, was seeking a 21% increase in total revenue and was planning to file that case with the Public Utilities Commission. At the council's direction, the town hired Sheehan, Finney, Bass, and Green to represent us in the PUC matter. That firm conducted a discovery, reviewed Pennachuck's materials that it had submitted in support of the rate increase, and hired an expert witness to examine the increases that were proposed and to assist the attorney in case preparation. The settlement agreement that's on the table is not a 21% increase in total revenue. It is a 16.5% increase in total revenue. And the reduction in the increase is based on savings that was identified by the town's expert witness. As you know, on October 18th, Utility Council and the expert witness met with the town council in a non-public privileged setting and recommended the settlement agreement that's on the table for the following reasons. It was noted that at trial, the town's expert witness will support a 19 or a 20% increase. In other words, after looking at Pennachuck's materials and its proposal, the expert witness found that those increases are mostly justified under the law and under PUC rules. It's important to remember that as a regulated utility, Pennachuck is entitled to recover its costs from ratepayers. The expert's reasoning was based on the following factors. He noted that 90% of Pennachuck's costs are fixed. There's little flexibility to tinker with those costs in an attempt to chip away at the proposed increase. These fixed costs rise at a rate faster than inflation. The most widely used measure of inflation is the Consumer Price Index. That's a measure of the cost to acquire consumer goods. That's not applicable here. The cost that we're talking about is the cost to maintain and improve a public water system. That cost is comprised of production cost, labor cost, infrastructure costs, taxes, management costs, and reserves that Pennachuck needs to maintain to guard against drastic changes in the pricing structure. Pennachuck's structure as a company drives higher rates in general. Our expert told us that Pennachuck is comprised of 20 small utility systems spread over a large area and not interconnected. Pennachuck is a nonprofit corporation. It can't issue stock, and it needs to maintain those reserves that I referenced in order to avoid the need to issue costly debt. Very significantly, the PUC has already looked at the methodology that Pennachuck is relying on in support of these increases with regard to its sister companies. And the PUC has approved those methodologies and approved those increases. What that tells us is that the PUC is likely to agree with Pennachuck largely here based on that methodology that's already been approved. It should be noted that the Office of Consumer Advocate and the Department of Energy, entities that exist and function to look after consumer interests, have reacted favorably and are in support of this settlement agreement. In closing, while a 16% increase is a bitter pill to swallow, it's our advice, and by our advice, I mean utility counsel's advice, the expert witness's advice, town attorney Mike Ramsdell's advice, and my advice, that we do need to swallow this bitter pill. It's in nobody's interests but the lawyer's interests to go to trial where the virtually certain result is that we'll lose, which means we'll do worse than the settlement agreement that's on the table. I'm asking for the council to vote to authorize this settlement as discussed with our utilities council on October 18th, and to take all steps necessary to do the same.
So, some things were discussed during the privileged meeting. Some of the questions that came up were, as far as looking backwards. So I discussed that with Attorney Ramsdell. I'm very disheartened with the answer that I got, but it made sense, is that the Public Utilities Commission, which the commissioners are paid approximately $120,000 a year, that these rates were approved in the past by the PUC. So he felt that we really wouldn't have standing going backwards because they were approved by the PUC. Even if they were wrong, they were approved. I'm somewhat disheartened by that. Through the conversations with Attorney Malaguti, I discovered the same things. Our relationship with Pennachuck is, I don't know, it's been trying over the years, I guess is the best way to put it. The increases that we've taken on, fire systems and everything else, come across, unexplained. While at the same time, as we look for resolutions around the whole PFOA piece, and if you've been involved with it for years, you'll find that Pennachuck with the Merrimack Water System and Manchester Water Works have all been involved in trying to come up with a resolution, yet we're no closer today. So there's a lot of frustration around this. The other thing I learned through this was, and I also spoke to the attorney at Sheehan Finney, is that we'd be looking at tens of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees to pursue this, with the recommendation of our expert and our own two attorneys telling us that it is likely that we would fail. With that all said, I leave it to you with what you'd like to do. Discussion.
I think that was a great quote to say, hard pill to swallow, because I think in that non-public, I think that's exactly what we all talked about, and we just said, it can't be, and we asked a lot of questions, and it's nothing that it's kind of like a monopoly. We really can't do a lot, and even if we pushed it, it sounds like it would cost us a lot more money, and that would be pushed to the taxpayers. So net, I think this is the best deal that we could strike up.
I agree with Joe. Net, there is some savings. Hard pill to swallow, though.
I just want to say that I agree with everybody, but I hope we take some better steps moving forward to maybe leverage ourselves a little bit better with them, or smarter. That's my 2 cents on it. Moving forward, keep a more of a watchful eye on what they're doing and how they're doing it. But unfortunately, I agree with everybody here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I looked at this request for a cost increase, a substantial cost increase to the ratepayers, I still can't come to grips with it being justified. And I think, unfortunately, because we already know that the costs we pay for our hydrants are through the roof, that we've been fighting for a long time. And I think that with all the problems we're experiencing right now with water quality, with the PFOS and so forth, I think the timing of this, at best, is Pennachuck being tone deaf as the problems that we're experiencing in Londonderry. I won't characterize it worse than that, although I'd like to, but let's just say, I think they're being tone deaf, that we have to go through the problems that we're experiencing right now, and then to layer on top of that, and in my view, an outrageous rate increase is unjustified.
What do you call this? You know, damned if we do and we damned if we don't. So what do you want to do? Are we going to accept the offer?
Make a motion to accept the offer.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
No,
Opposed?
no,
Chair votes in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next item, discussion on the 2021 tax rate. Before we leave this, really want to see us come up with a better way to I know we've sat down with the leadership team at Pennachuck in the past, and we've had very candid conversations with them. I do believe Councilor Dolan is right. I don't think they hear us. I don't know if the right expression is we need to get louder, but we need to have another conversation with that leadership team.
We also have to try to figure a way of moving away from them if it's possible. And I know there's a lot of crazy things to even say in that, but I think part of the things that we've been looking into are going to produce options. So I hope that
Agreed.
Mr. Chair, could I recommend perhaps we bring them into a council meeting?
Oh, that would be great.
If they'll come.
Let's see if they'll attend.
I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. So, all right, so we have a discussion on the 2021 tax rate. So there, as you know, we're going into budgets, but we also have to set the tax rate so that we can send out the tax bills. As most of you have probably already figured out, the tax bills haven't gone out yet. And once the rate is set, which will probably, once the paperwork that we sign this weekend is that all completed and sent up to the state?
I am missing one signature.
Whose?
No, I only have two. I need at least three.
So you were sending an email?
I
on
also
DocuSign?
have it,
I signed it.
if you have it here tonight, we'll get it.
I have it here.
I signed it, right?
Good.
No. You opened it, but you didn't, I'm wondering if you didn't click finish.
Yeah, we'll sign
I've
it.
done plenty of times, but I have
Have it
it
right
here.
now?
Yeah, we'll
Let's have
take
it.
care of it.
Sorry, I thought I did it.
No worries.
I figured,
I'll sign it.
bring it here,
Let's-
that way we
so-
can get it off and.
So we'll
right away.
sign it now.
If you had just called me, I would have came down and did it.
Oh, I
had
wasn't
no
sure if you had
idea. I thought I
questions, so
did
I
it.
didn't want to
No,
push if you had
when you
questions.
receive an email on DocuSign, you gotta go all the way through, you gotta tell them it's finished.
I
And
did,
then-
it said thank you.
Well, then, maybe it just didn't respond. I don't know
I'm
what to
not sure.
say.
I've had that same issue when I'm signing things where I'll get a call saying, hey, how come you didn't sign it? And I did.
Usually when everyone's done, I get an email saying everyone's done. And you know, but
I'm
just,
sorry.
No worries.
it's okay. It
That's why I
happens.
brought it tonight. That way I can send it off tomorrow morning.
So
and
what's
get
gonna
it done.
happen is this is gonna go forward to the state so they can set the tax rate for the December bill. I'm guessing it's gonna take at least a week for DRA to turn around, if not more, which means that the tax bills probably aren't gonna go out until right before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. And that they're gonna be due right before Christmas, which is all very unpleasant. So,
With that,
So
May-
as much as it's terrible that it's going out before Christmas, you are getting an additional couple weeks to be able to pay it compared to when it was being paid before.
I understand.
Just trying to look at the positive, be a little,
You know,
there's a lot of negative in the world.
yeah, everyone's always positive about taxes. So anyway, we're going into this knowing that we're going into budgets. All of you know that this budget season will be as most are, that we will be examining where we're going and what we need to do. Part of this is also is understand when we set tax rate, we're setting tax rate for school and town. We operate as separate forms of government. 74% of the money that is paid in property taxes goes to the schools. 23% goes to the town. And the remainder of that goes to the county. So just keep all that in mind as we're going forward, and the floor is yours.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. So This evening, what we're going to be talking about is solely the town portion of the tax rate. We're not talking about the school, the county, or the state. As you mentioned, it's actually the state DRA that will set the tax rate, but we send them all of the raw data so that they can come up with that number, and we can pretty accurately predict what that number is. As we talk about this evening, just want to provide some historical context here. So the current tax rate for the town is $4.66. The things that go into making up the tax rate every year, first is the town budget that's voted and approved in March, along with the warrant articles. I will tell you that of all of the variables affecting the tax rate this year, this one probably has the most minimal effect on what the rate actually is, as the operating budget only increased by 1.46% over last year's budget. As Attorney Malaguti noted earlier, inflation has been much higher than this. The CPI is 5.4%, and again, our operating budget that was approved went up 1.46%. So keep that in mind as we're talking towards what the rate actually is. The second variable, of course, are the revenues. We've been fortunate in that revenue estimates have come in higher than what we anticipated and budgeted for back when we did our budget back in March. Motor vehicle registrations continued to be significantly higher year over year, which is a great thing. We've also, the state revenues and highway and rooms and meals did not bottom out as we maybe had thought they might due to COVID. They've actually stayed rather steady. If anything, they've increased on the rooms and meals side. And we've also had some unanticipated revenues come in, such as a health insurance refund that will be going towards this year's tax rate, as well as monies that won't be used that were appropriated. You may recall that we had a warrant article that was appropriating $250,000 for the water line at Lancaster. Because of the grants that we received, we now will not need to use that money, and so there'll be an offsetting revenue of $250,000. So that will not go down as an appropriation. So that's good news on the revenue side. The most important thing this year has been the townwide valuation, and I very rarely, if ever, speak in hyperbole, and I don't plan to do so this evening, but I'm not going to mince words either. This tax year had the makings of being catastrophic in terms of property taxes because of a number of things that happened on the valuation side. First of all, we went through a revaluation year. Why did we do that? Because we have to stay over 90%. And home values, property values in this town, and frankly in all of southern New Hampshire, are the highest anyone's ever seen them. We got down to 92% in 2020, and certainly if we didn't do a